First, their families. You and I who are being taxed to death, and you and I who are being told how we should spend our money and who we should pay it to. That has to stop. Secondly, people of faith who want the freedom to cherish the morals and the virtues that are rooted in something higher than themselves. You know, George Washington reminded Americans, the last thing he did as a public official was to remind Americans that of all the habits and dispositions which lead to political prosperity, morality and religion are indispensable supports. Next, we'll engage business owners, you and I who are overregulated and being taxed out of California, you and I who provide jobs. We will promote this region once again, and it'll be known as a place where businesses and families are welcome. The Golden State is losing its luster, and Americans are no longer saying go west, but they're saying go elsewhere, as we saw what Tom said, 135,000 residences and businesses flee our state last year for friendlier territory. Well, this kind of change does signal a problem, but I believe the solution isn't far if we look to our foundations. I am not an elected official, but like all here, I am a parent, a spouse, a business owner, and a citizen concerned about the direction this state and nation are taking. I'm running because I love our country, as you love our country, but I also believe that it's a parent's responsibility to leave to his children, the next generation, the same type of opportunities that were given all of us. Our state's been known as the Golden State for years, rich in opportunities. We have a great Mediterranean-like climate, and you know, there's some days you can be snow skiing in the mountains in the morning, and in the afternoon you can be surfing at the beach. We have some of the best seaports in the world for trade, and then we have the Silicon Valley, which leads the world in technology, and over the hill from there we have the San Joaquin Valley, which produces over $23 billion a year in agriculture revenue. This leads California to be in the 8th largest economy in the world. With all this going for you, for us, it's amazing how far we've fallen behind, isn't it? And you and I are here tonight because, frankly, California and our Republican Party is in a mess. But may I suggest to you that the problem is not California or America, but it's the many in politics on both sides of the aisle who have forgotten, neglected, and downright abandoned the political principles that made our country the greatest, freest, and most prosperous nation in all of human history. Now, I myself have been disillusioned with some in our party, but I still believe in the principles of Republican government. To abandon the principles of our republicanism has never been a winning strategy. In 1976, following an electoral defeat, there were many Republicans then, as of now, who rushed to judgment to say we must broaden the base of our party and blur the differences between us and our opponents. However, Ronald Reagan replied simply no. The reason why, he understood we could not be all things to all people and that we must not compromise our political principles for political expediency. Well, you and I have heard politicians talking for 50 years about change, and more recently, change you can believe in. Well, instead of wandering off into the land of change and compromise, may I suggest instead our politicians rather return and restore back to the principles of limited constitutional government, the greatest blueprint for freedom in the 6,000 years of recorded history. These political principles gave ordinary citizens like you and me rights for the first time. The right to freedom of religion, the right to private property, the right to free speech, and the gift of free enterprise. And also remember these words, which are stated in our Declaration of Independence, which say, to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. These words right there were the first time that they had been placed in a political document. And it gave citizens like you and I, who were once ruled by kings, the right to vote. And as we recall the seriousness of these men who wrote these things, they concluded this document by saying this: with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. There was a gentleman named Robert Morris, who was a banker, who did pledge his fortune, by financing much of the Revolutionary War, and he died broke. And for Abraham Clark, he paid the ultimate price when he was notified that his 2 sons had been captured and tortured by the British. The British extended freedom to his sons if Clark would simply renounce his signature on the Declaration of Independence. Clark responded no. Folks, once Republicans return to this principled integrity and govern accordingly, then and only then will we win elections and win back some of those independent voters and Reagan Democrats, and at that point we will restore California. Well, I believe the political principles found in our beginnings can solve many of our problems. And this is why we'll win, as long as we go back to what made America great. And these principles are found in our Republican platform. And I'd like to just name a few. First, we support the free markets, the most efficient and productive system in all of human history. And you know, one thing, I want to talk what it's like to be an American. I just thought of this. My friend James Na came in here, and you know, his father, he was telling me one day his father was watching a television program, and it was a John Wayne show. And he saw John Wayne up on a horse, and this beautiful blue sky was behind him with white puffy clouds. And his dad said, I want that kind of a life. That's the kind of dream I want there. And they made their way for America. They saved their money, and they came over here legally. And today, James' family runs a successful business. He's a patriot. He walks door to door, encouraging people to vote. And he just got elected to city council in Chino. That's American, and that's free enterprise. James. Well, some say these political principles are out of date. But may I say principles, whether political, economic, or moral, never change, and neither do people. People still don't want government running their lives. Then or now, government's meant to foster productivity and not stifle it. Government's supposed to work for us, not against us. It's supposed to be our servant and not our master. And as soon as our elected leaders remember that, we'll do much better, because this government of ours was designed to be one of, by, and for the people, and therefore we the people must take it back. Right. So where do we go from here? Well, Winston Churchill once said that if he was elected to Parliament, it was not his intention to watch the demise of his country. If I'm elected, it's not my intention to watch our state's further decline. Therefore, I believe that strength and power can only come from the people. So I need your help. We need to engage voters once again and clean up our area here as well as our state. So I ask this question: should we move to the center and compromise, as we're told, giving up more of our freedoms to big government? Now, I understand the need from time to time to reach across the aisle and compromise one's preferences, but never principles. Did Washington ever compromise his principles with the British, or Lincoln with the slaveholders, or Christ with the Pharisees? Ladies and gentlemen, all great movements require principles worth fighting for. Thank you, thank you. Winston Churchill believed that we were more than just physical beings, but that we have a soul. And he believed that there was something happening in the spirit world that goes beyond time and space, things that we don't fully understand. With this in mind, I'm sure there's this axiom that you've heard over the years, which says, as California goes, so goes the nation. If this is so, perhaps then Providence is giving us the opportunity to save California by starting right here in a community plagued by political challenges, high unemployment, and in a state riddled with the chains of big government. Therefore, as Californians and as Americans, we must restore our land to that destiny first spoken of by Pilgrim John Winthrop, who envisioned a free and prosperous nation. That is, America, the shining city upon the hill. Thank you.